Hello and welcome to another video lecture from MrWatkins.com. I'm Mr. Watkins. This particular video is for the anatomy students and it is on body regions. I'm going to be doing this in the landscape format here. I'm going to write body regions right up here at the top. Okay, so this is a lecture that, again, you're going to need to know the different anatomical terms. But we'll get into all of that stuff here in just a minute. Now, the body can be divided as far as regions go, and we're not talking about whether it's a cavity or not. We're talking about just looking at the human body. We can divide that up into two broad regions, and those regions are the appendicular and the axial. Now, appendicular is going to be your appendages. This is going to be your arms and legs, your extremities. If you haven't read the chapter on the organization of the body, you really need to make sure that you do that, because some of these terms here I'm expecting you guys to know is for vocabulary, so we can, like I've said in class, maybe build that house, build up that vocabulary and stitch those vocabulary words together. So your appendicular, that's going to be arms, legs, your limbs, your extremities. We have an upper extremity and a lower extremity in your appendicular body region. Your lower extremity, that's going to be your legs. Your upper extremity, that's going to be your arms. Okay? And we're going to get into some detail on these areas, particularly with the skeletal system as far as what's in those regions. When we hit muscles, we'll talk about the muscles and things that belong, the gross anatomy there of those muscles that belong in the upper and lower extremities. Now, for axial is divided out into a lot of different things. And one of the reasons why we study axial a little more is because there's a lot of systems found in the axial side body region that is not as many as in appendicular. Like the urinary system is not appendicular. The urinary system is only found in the axial side or the axial region of the body. And we divide the axial region into three broad regions, and one of them is going to be cephalic. And again, make sure that you're learning those body regions, those terms, because that's going to help you understand what these body regions. Cephalic, that's the head. And then we have cervical, be there. And that cervical, cervic means neck. And so the cervical is going to be the neck area here. And again, we're looking at this head, neck, and what we call the last region here, the trunk. And you would call that the thorax and the abdomen if from a biology perspective. So cephalic is the head, and we'll get into some more detail about that. We're going to study, in particular, we're going to study the brain and the 12 cranial nerves that go with that, and that won't happen until the spring semester. And then cervical, we'll look at that not just on the bone side, but also on the nervous system side, and that's going to be the cervical, like vertebrae, the neck. We'll look at the digestive system with the esophagus running through there, the respiratory system with the trachea running through, and then the trunk. And by far the trunk has the most or the biggest division here of all of this, because we're going to divide that also into three. So we're taking this axial region, we divide it into three, now we're going to divide the trunk into three here down at the bottom. And the trunk has the thoracic. Now, that's the chest, and you just need to get used to the fact that the word thoracic means chest, and that's an R there, maybe kind of hard to catch. And then we have abdominal. Okay, so now we're looking at chest, the abdomen, and then the pelvic. Now you may want to have a look, see if you haven't already, at the body cavities, because there was a point in the body cavities when we talk about the ventral cavity. And that ventral cavity and this stuff kind of line up, where we have our thoracic cavity containing the lungs, containing the heart, the structures that bring the air to the lungs, the structures that bring some of the blood to the heart. And then we had our abdominal pelvic that got broken down into a smaller grouping. It's very easy to confuse this particular area with the body cavity. So please make sure when you're looking at test questions, when you're doing your studying, that you emphasize this word region, because this is the thoracic region. This is the abdominal region, which has an abdominal cavity. This is the pelvic region. Okay, so the pelvic region and the thoracic region, we're going to study both of these areas, these regions in detail, or at least the systems that are in these regions in some detail here. Particularly when we hit the thoracic piece, we have the respiratory and the circulatory system that we're going to hit. We've got a big unit on the heart that we're going to go through, and we're going to look at all the different things, not just the muscle that's associated with it, not just the chambers, but the electrical activity that's associated there. And then the pelvic region, we've got the urinary system, the reproductive system, we've got the digestive system that empties out into that, or it goes through that to empty out. And so we'll hit those later. But the abdominal region we need to talk about now. And the abdominal region has 9 areas. And so those 9 areas I'm going to hit in just a moment here. But if you take the abdomen and you divide that abdomen up into smaller areas, basically make a tic-tac-toe pattern where the center of that tic-tac-toe is right over the belly button, you'll get your 9 different regions. If you've gone to the doctor and he's had you or she's had you lay down on the exam table, and they made you put on that paper gown, and then they go and they start pushing right on your abdomen. And depending upon the doctor and depending upon what they're looking for, they'll either follow the quadrants for the abdomen or they'll follow the abdominal regions. And there's another video, or will be another video, on the abdominal regions specifically. But you'll need to know for all of these regions what systems are in those regions and what major organs are found in those regions. So these are the regions for the body. Please make sure you don't confuse them with the cavities. And then you may want to have a look at the video on the abdominal regions and the quadrants that you find in the abdomen. That's it for this lecture. If you got any questions, please leave me those questions on the forum or come see me in class. Thank you.